Welcome back to episode 40. I'm Heidi and I'm so glad you're here. Counsellor, psychotherapist, and today we're going to be exploring something that sounds simple but can feel surprisingly difficult, and that's hearing yourself. Now, most of us are skilled at tuning into other people, aren't we? Their needs, their moods, their expectations. But when it comes to our own inner world, it can be much harder just to slow down and notice what's happening beneath the surface and truly understanding what we feel like. Emotional self awareness isn't about analysing yourself or getting every feeling right or spot on. It's about learning to listen inwardly with curiosity, kindness, and patience. So, in this episode, we're going to be looking at why it can be so hard to hear yourself, what emotions are actually being communicated, and how to recognise your internal signals. And I'll share some simple practices to deepen your emotional awareness every day. So, wherever you are, doing whatever you're doing, just take a moment now, settle yourself down, and let's begin. So why is it so hard to actually hear ourselves? Many people assume incorrectly that emotional awareness is an automatic skill. From a therapeutic perspective, you've probably learned to prioritise others first. If you've grown up in an environment where other people's needs or moods dominated the space, you've probably become quite hyper attuned to them and disconnected from yourself. And your feelings may have become something you've just pushed down. Maybe you had to do this to keep safe or just to keep the peace. Often people pleasers will suppress their emotion rather than express it, and they'll always try and make sure everyone else is okay before them. So they've lost the ability to tune in to their own emotional compass. Or maybe you weren't taught the language of emotion. Some of you may have been raised to hide those emotions, not understand them. So don't cry, be strong, you're too sensitive. Messages like these really do teach us to silence ourselves and dismiss whatever might be coming up. Another thing I see regularly is people have learned to function through the overwhelm. Life is demanding as we just keep going, whether it's work, family, responsibilities. Your emotional world is just going to disappear off and become background noise. Your body's going to whisper signals, but you would have learned just to ignore them because you have to carry on, or you feel you have to carry on. There's no room for failing or taking a moment in the world, is there? That's why self-care is so important. Whatever your self-care looks like. But one of the first things that leaves us when we become stressed, overwhelmed, anxious, whatever, is the ability to look after ourselves. And something I'm very aware of as a counsellor, you might be a little bit scared of what you might find if you actually stop and listen. And sometimes staying disconnected, so it stops you, and it's safer, isn't it? It's going to stop you from facing the sadness, the anger, the disappointment, or stop you from actually recognising and having to do something with your own unmet needs. If any of this feels familiar, please know this is all very normal. I felt like this, will continue to feel like this. Every single client I speak to can turn up and say one of these things to me. So emotional awareness isn't something we should already know. It's something we need just to learn and become a little bit more aware of. Let me turn now to what your emotions are communicating. Listen, emotions, they are not the problems. I want you to think of them as signals. Each one will carry important information about your needs, your boundaries, your values, and your core experiences. Let me give you some examples. So if you feel frustration, that might be your body telling you something isn't working. It's not right. Or if it's sadness, this may be pointing to something that matters to you. Now, anxiety, this is going to be signaling absolute uncertainty, fear, or the need for reassurance or safety. And anger, when that turns up, it can highlight a crossed boundary or maybe a sense of injustice. Now, what I'll say here is if you've got deep, deep sadness, maybe there's been a bereavement, you've lost somebody, you've lost a friend. And bereavement doesn't always mean someone's passed away. Loss doesn't always mean someone's passed away. You could have lost a sense of identity, a job. any kind of loss, a pet. Often when we've got ingrained deep sadness we've not been able to process, it will manifest as anger. Because think about it, anger is more palatable, isn't it? But as human beings, we can be angry without being judged. But when we're sad, we often feel vulnerable or shamed or less than, or we feel like we failed. So just something to notice: if you have got deep sadness at the core of yourself, maybe the anger is turning up in a different way, just for you to process something, or at least tell you actually it's the sadness that you need to be looking at. And the numbness. Oh, we switch ourselves off. And this might mean you're feeling overwhelmed or disconnected or maybe disassociating. And that is a form of protection. When you learn to hear these signals without judging them, emotions become less intimidating and much more like internal guidance. So see them as signals, they're directing you, they want your attention. So how do you recognize your internal signals? Start with your body. Before your mind forms words, your body speaks. You're going to notice things like tightness in your chest and not in your tummy, restlessness, you'll be feeling drained, agitated, or you'll notice a sudden shift in energy. Your body often understands your emotions long before your mind catches up. So learn to tune in to the body and see what it's trying to say. And notice patterns. Ask yourself, am I noticing this feelings coming a little bit too often? No. And notice your patterns. When are you feeling this way the most often? Is it mornings? Is it evenings? Is it a weekend? Is it as we wake up? Is it as we go to sleep? Is it in the middle of the night? Are you with anybody particular, or have you noticed any triggers in the situations that cause you to respond and feel this way? Your patterns will reveal your unmet needs. You can maybe journal about this, or just notice with curiosity when you're feeling like this, who's around you, maybe what you're doing, and name what you can. You don't need the perfect label. Even like, oh, that doesn't feel quite right. That is a form of awareness. I always go on about naming your emotions. It's part of becoming at one with yourself without criticism, but just accepting who you are and tuning in. And slow down your reactions. It's what we talked about last week when we were developing our internal counsellor. We need the pause. The pause is where that voice is. And so instead of moving straight in to fixing, pleasing, explaining, or avoiding all of those things, stop and pause and give yourself a minute to check in without acting in any way. I know from emails that I receive and comments that I'm getting that the little exercises, the little reflective activities that I put in some of the podcasts are really helping. So I've got one here, just an everyday practice to deepen your emotional awareness. Some gentle practices you can start right now or certainly blend into your week. I'm going to give you one. This is my favourite one. It's called a 60-second check-in. Dead simple. Once a day, pause and ask yourself 3 things. What am I feeling? Where do I feel it? And what might this be trying to tell me? Even set a little alarm on your phone to remind you to do it. 60 seconds. You can all find 60 seconds to give yourself moments just to reflect internally. Maybe think about micro journaling. I know journaling isn't for everybody, I appreciate that, but maybe writing 1 or 2 sentences a day. You can even do it in your phone. Not a full entry, but just a little snapshot about how you might be feeling. Again, you're training your brain to slow down, pause, reflect, and be with your own emotional well-being. Try naming 3 emotional needs that you have. For me, it's I need quiet. For you, it might be I need rest, I need connection, I need noise, I need space, I need attention. Doesn't matter. Just name 3 emotional needs. By doing this, you're building that internal connection with yourself, your brain, and your needs. And create some emotional boundaries, not with others, but with yourself. Allow yourself to step away from anything that feels too much. If you're feeling overwhelmed, just stop rather than pushing yourself further. That's never going to end well. You're going to become more overwhelmed, probably quite anxious, and that can lead to all sorts of difficult emotions. We're not trying to avoid them, remember. We're just trying to learn and understand what our body needs and what our emotions are telling us. You have a kind internal voice, and that creates a safe inner space to allow you to explore your feelings. Thank you for joining me again today. And if something in this episode helped you hear yourself a little bit more clearly or understand your emotions in a new way, I hope it's helped. And I'm really glad that you've joined me. Next week, we're going to shift into a topic that so many people I know really struggle with, but rarely talk about openly. And that's their attachment styles to themselves and to other people. We're going to be exploring why you connect the way you do, why certain relationships feel harder than others, and most importantly, why your attachment style is not your destiny. You can absolutely relearn connection, safety, and trust. And therapy can be such a powerful space for that transformation. So join me next week as we unpack attachment patterns with compassion, not labels, and look at how healing in relationships can help you build healthier, more secure connections, and you know you deserve them. I'd love you to connect with me. I'm on all the usual social media channels: TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. I post daily videos. Come along, say hello, give me some comments, give me some feedback, or email me at HeidiWeAreAllFine@gmail.com. If there's anything you'd like me to bring to podcast, I'd love to know, and I'll certainly reply to all of the emails. Now, we are all flawed, insecure, nervous, and emotional, but always remember, be yourself. You are no one else. Have a fabulous week. Take good care, tune into what you need, and I'll see you next time. Finally, some important takeaways. The podcast is for informational use only and should not be used as a substitution for professional advice or for personal diagnosis. These opinions are personal, and I do not guarantee the accuracy of such opinions or information. I'm not intending to create a counselling relationship with you, and you should always consult a qualified mental health professional with any concerns.